Hi everyone, welcome to The Animal Reader. The Animal Reader is an animal news organization. We're based in the Netherlands, and every Wednesday we host a talk show from Worm, a theater in Rotterdam. And today our guest is Josef Pfabigan. He's the CEO of Four PAWS. Four PAWS is an international animal welfare organization. Welcome, Josef.
Welcome, Raya. Thank you for the invitation. Good evening.
Good evening. Four PAWS, you're really big, but tell me how you started.
How Four PAWS started.
Yes.
We started 33 years ago, and we started in Austria. We were with the mastermind Heli Dungler, who passed away last year, unfortunately, very young, and with a group of some friends, we started to work for animals, and we thought about to start for animals. Those times in Austria, we had a lot of things which were not okay. Animals were mistreated, and all those times the organizations just take care about animals in shelters like dogs and cats and all the stuff around, abandoned animals. And we thought it must be more. It was a movement in Austria. Those times it was in the 18th. When Greenpeace was founded in Austria, WWF were founded before. There were a kind of ecological movement in Austria, and with this movement, we were very attracted, and we were very engaged in all the things around, and we had a very holistic view on the things, and that's why we thought about how can we help the animals. Not suffering more than it was those times, and also the legal situation was very weak those times. And I think we did a good thought on that. And our first topic was fur, and we saw all the cruelty in the fur farms in Austria. Those times we had 60 fur farms in Austria, and we took some pictures. We did investigation, and we engaged ourselves in fur and asked those who are responsible to stop this treatment with the animals, but we had no legal conditions which supported us. That's why we demonstrated, and we involved media, and we did actions, and that's how we started. And the police those times said, when we said, okay, we want to make an action, we want to make a protest or something like that, they said, okay, you can do it not having a juridical frame. So that's why we decided to found an association. And those times we said, okay, let's have a working title called Four PAWS, and Vier Pfoten, and that's and we thought we will change it as soon as we have a better idea. Till now, we didn't find a better name for the organization, so we did it those times. And 88. It was 4th of March of 1988, last millennium.
Yeah, but in those times, if you started in 1988, how did people respond to you back then?
The first reactions, it was very ambivalent. So we had people who were really enthusiastic about our engagement, and others were not this amused, like politicians or those we were targeting. So the farmers were not amused. They were afraid to lose their jobs. They were afraid to lose their revenue. They were afraid of a lot of things. And those times, people thought it's ridiculous to think about animal welfare in this way, because we did a lot of actions. We had a good network in the media, and that was the first success. Because the media grabbed it, because it was brand new stories and a brand new approach for animal welfare. So we were very enthusiastic about that, and we thought that we thought it's kind of, let's do an action, let's do something for the animals. It was not thought that in this big scale, in this sustainable way. We wanted to do a legal framework for the animals, and that's what we worked for in our first actions. All people were working voluntarily and on honorable basis. So we had no paid stuff these times, and yeah, that's how we started. It was just our enthusiastic and our engagement for the animals with a very holistic view on the things. We thought animals are part of our environment, and we have to take care about that. And at the end, we have to protect them.
Yeah, and how did you grow then from doing that, from a small, mostly volunteers, to now being an international foundation organization?
Yeah, it grew organically, I would say. It was a logic follow up of all the things which happened. We started in 89. We started to ask for funds. That was the key. I think that was the key, because those times it was very hard to get all the things financed, especially when you want to focus things. You need very professional staff, you need full-time staff, you need people who take care on a 24/7 basis. And that's what we did. And therefore we needed money. And that's why we had a mentor which supported us those times in our first steps for fundraising. And Four PAWS was very successful those times, because people took care about, mainly those times, about children, but also about the environment, and especially about animals. And that's what attracted us, and what gave us the power to go on with all our efforts in these things. And yeah, as we saw that it's very successful, we just say, okay, let's continue as long as we have the money to finance it. And my approach was always like that. I said, okay, I see it in a very holistic way, because I see animal welfare, as I told you before, as part of the environmental and ecological and conservation movement. And that's how I dealt with that. And we wanted to contribute in a higher scale. And therefore, we needed a very good and solid financial basis and economical basis. And that's how we developed. And yeah, within our network, we went on. In '94, we founded Four PAWS in Germany, in Hamburg, because we had good connections to Greenpeace International and Greenpeace in Germany especially. And there were some engaged people who were interested in working in animal welfare, especially also in Germany, and develop that. And so one step after the other. And in these times, after 5 years, in '94, we had the real good successes in Austria with farmed animals, especially with labeling of eggs and such things, because we had a good network with our retailers here, with scientists, with all the producers of eggs, and it was pretty good to work in this field. And we were convinced that we can go on in a very successful way. And yeah, then we organized, and we developed the organization. We had the first structures, we had the first strategies, we had the first focus areas with our projects and with our campaigns. And yeah, the first 10 years were really, we were engaged with just pointing to people and say, okay, you did wrong, you have to take care about it, solve the problem. And after 10 years, we saw that it's not always possible only to ask others to find a solution. And after 8 to 10 years, we started to look for our own solutions and to provide our solutions, the Four PAWS solutions for different areas. And that's where we started to be a very professional and solution-orientated organization. And in this sense, we built our first sanctuary in '98 in Austria for mistreated bears, those times coming out of private keeping, coming out of circuses. And this was very welcomed by the authorities, because they were then able to execute the laws and also to take the animals out of bad conditions into a better future. And then we started in Bulgaria with dancing bears. We went on with stray animals in Romania, and so on. Yeah, and
what are the?
2000,
Oh, go on.
2003, we ended up in the we founded Four PAWS International, and then it was really very fast when we were on different continents. We were in South Africa with lions. We built sanctuaries. Nowadays we have 9 sanctuaries. We have sanctuaries in Vietnam, in Ukraine, in South Africa, in Holland, in the Netherlands, with Felida, in Germany, in Austria, and so on, in Kosovo, a lot of things.
And what is so how many people work at Four PAWS? About how many people in the whole world? Do you know that?
We have around 600.
600. So
in 15 countries.
In 15 countries. So what is, we have spoken in our show, we've talked to your veterinarian Amir Khalil, who was a part of rescuing Kaavan, him and his team from, there was a lonely elephant in Pakistan, and he went to a sanctuary in Cambodia. We talked to Catherine Polak, she's working with stray animals in Southeast Asia or Vietnam. We talked to Iona Dangler, and everybody we've interviewed from Four PAWS is, of course, everybody we interview usually has love for animals, but from Four PAWS specifically, they have so much love for their work also. Is that something that is important for you, the people who work with Four PAWS, like to keep a healthy environment, to keep 600 people motivated?
Yeah, that's really an essential asset of Four PAWS, to have this diversity in our staff, to have this dedication in our staff. And we just want to be we want to have the right people on the right place. And I think we did a good job in recruiting during the last years, or bringing people into the organization who live their engagement, and they are burning and for their work, and they are engaged. And we keep the spirit high in giving the frames, in giving the freedom to decide sometimes. Sometimes it's not, they don't have the freedom to decide, because we also want to follow our strategies and our focus areas. But at the end, I think we are working on the right topic. And we, as Four PAWS, as employer, knows very well what to do and where to go to. And I think that's the most important thing, that everybody is convinced about the engagement she or he is bringing into the organization.
Yeah, that's it. But you do so far, like I said, I think Four PAWS does a really great job in that. In the people we've interviewed so far from Four PAWS, it's especially the dedication. And we've talked, I think, 3 times to Dr. Amir Khalil. Especially when he was rescuing Kaavan, and before that he was getting animals from a war zone. And amazing person, like the dedication to do this. And talking about Kaavan, you made headlines for PAWS. Also Ami, because he was singing with the elephant, like he made headlines too with teaching him how to sing. But I think it was it had never been done to have an elephant being transferred by plane from Pakistan to Cambodia. It was a hell of an operation, I think.
Yeah, it was a hell of operations, and it was a hell of preparations. And also with the preparations, we did a really good job, because it was unique those times. What we did, it's always you have to balance the risk, because we had the chance, we had also the option to bring him to Cambodia with a ship or with a lorry or something like that. But this would take him, those times it would have been taken him weeks of traveling, and he's not in the best health condition this time. And we tried to get him fit, because he has overweight and all the stuff, and this is really a challenge for the animal. But you are right, it was unique. And Kaavan is a symbol. Kaavan is a symbol for all the animals which are suffering, who are suffering in private captivity, in zoos or circuses, or in other bad conditions. So we want him to be the symbol, and that's why we took all the efforts we took those times. And at the end we succeeded, and I'm really happy about that. And it was a great job done by the whole team, especially by Amir. Once he starts things doing, he ends up with a success
Yeah.
in most of the cases.
Yeah, it's a really good like good character to have also. Your what was your personal story? Like personally, why did you wanted to work in animal welfare?
I always thought in connecting people, I always thought that it's important to live in a sustainable way. I always thought that it's really important to support those who have no voice, um, don't care if it's animals or other things. I'm I have a real I think I have a real good feeling for important things for myself. That's
Mm-hmm.
why I did it. I come from a completely other background. I was musician. I was trained in administration and economics and stuff like that. But anyway, I find it important to support our environment in a sustainable way. And as I told you, animals are part of the environment. And as I had animals by myself in my childhood, and I grew up with animals, it was clear for me that I also want to work for the fate of the animals and for the sake of the animals. And that's why I decided those times to step in voluntarily. As I told you, I worked, most of us worked voluntarily. I did it for the first 9 years. And then when we had the first structures in Four PAWS, we were looking for dedicated people, and I was one of those.
And what is the like what do you think of the animal welfare movement nowadays? Because you started 32 years ago, like you said, it wasn't that you were one of the first, I think, back then. Like, of course, you had PETA already, but you were one of the first big ones, and you made all the headlines, and it was new in those times. But we're now in 2021, and you have a lot of animal welfare organizations. And like, has the movement improved? Is it sometimes you also see animal welfare organizations now fighting for fundings because everybody wants to? Everybody has, of course, a good cause in their head, but it's like there are more players on the field. I don't know if you said it correctly, but what do you think of the movement? Is it going in the right direction? Are we helping more animals? Are we hurting more animals nowadays?
Four PAWS is supporting global movements. We want to be part of a global movement. We want to be part of global alliances. Right now we are on the way to, or we had a soft launch last week with the World Federation for Animals. I think that's very important. It's in the moment it's 19 founding members. It's the biggest organizations, some of the biggest organizations globally, and we are among them. And I think it's important. As I know, when I'm right, it's about some 35,000 animal welfare organizations worldwide in the moment in the network. I'm sure not all of them will come to the World Federation, but I think it's important to focus things, and I think it's important to focus animals, and that's what we want to strive for. We are right now on the way to develop a long-term strategy for this alliance. But in general, I think animal welfare changed a lot since since we are on the market, since we are working in this field. It's changed a lot. When I think about that, those times, when I think about Austria, there was no clear legal frame for animals and animal protection. Now we have a clear animal welfare law, one of the best animal welfare laws in Europe, maybe in the world. But we have to go on working. We have to raise awareness with the people. I think people are thinking about that, especially in times of COVID and in times of pandemics. I think that's the right slot for us to step in and to make people aware of the challenges and of the opportunities for animal welfare. And we are also animal welfare is not isolated from the world. When we are talking about animal welfare, we also can think about climate change. We can think about a lot of other things, because if we eat less meat, for example, if we eat less meat, we can help farmed animals. We can reduce the number of farmed animals. We can reduce the suffering with farmed animals, and so on. So there are a lot of things, and I think the awareness for animals is much higher than before. But on the other hand, there are growing markets, there are emerging markets
Exactly.
who want to participate in consumption, and meat is also a privilege. Sometimes it's seen as a privilege to consume meat. So I think we have to correct that. What we want to stand for is to have better keeping conditions for all the animals, to have better conditions for the animals, and this leads us to maybe reduction of meat and leads us to more plant-based diets.
Yeah. But it's exactly what you're saying. Like, if you, on the one hand, animal welfare, or like if you see in Europe, for instance, or we are based in the Netherlands, people are very more conscious about it. But at the same time, if you see look at the numbers, they're not really going down. There's a lot of export of meat, and it's that's why I sometimes feel like there's so much good that people do, but then the meat market is also still growing. It's still growing in Asia. It's still growing in South America, but. What is Four PAWS' main focus points for the coming years? What are you focusing on the most?
Yeah, what we are focused. We are focused in different areas. We work on farm animals and nutrition. We work on wild animals. We work on companion animals. We are right now developing. Maybe we change the direction a little bit in disaster relief work with animals. And we work in rapid response and things like that in emergency help for animals. But within the farmed animals, I think it's crucial to think about how we can reduce the number of slaughtered animals, of animals in bad conditions. And I think one key can be to stop with the consumption of cheap meat and to teaser cheap meat in the supermarkets as part of the strategy for the market. And within other areas, we work in the current situation. We are working on dog and cat meat trade in Southeast Asia. Yeah. We closed down slaughterhouses for dogs and cats in Cambodia, for example. Within the wild animals, we work on reducing the suffering of animals while working on reducing the smuggling of animals to have a clear guideline on trading with wild animals and parts of it. So it's really that's essential. And within other areas, within our sanctuary areas, we're working with big cats mainly, and we are in Vietnam. We are working with bile bears. We are working right now to extend the facilities there to have more possibilities and to rescue more animals in this sense, and a lot more. But these are the main points and the focus. And also very important is the awareness of the consumers. For example, with the we want to convince those who are responsible for purchasing goods, and especially animal-based goods and products, that they are really aware of the keeping conditions behind and the conditions for the animals. So we want to have better meat in a better quality and in high keeping conditions, and that leads to less consumption.
And I think also your colleague, we talked to her, Iona Dungler, that's a while ago already. There was about I think a white lion was by accident. The police found him. They were hit. It was in a car accident, and they found him. And she was saying that also laws need to be changed. Like governments also need to work and change their laws, because, for instance, there's a huge tiger trade in Europe, but a lot of things are legal. Even if it's fake papers, people still approve them. And she gave we had a very good talk, I think half a year ago already, but I still remember that. But there's also so much you can do, and you can raise awareness, but then governments also by now have to step up their game.
Our normal way of working is we work with governments. We really want to cooperate with governments, and we offer our support. And a lot of things have to be done. That's clear. But within the European Union, for example, which is the focus in our lobbying work, we have a lobbying office in Brussels. We are part of the Eurogroup for Animals, and in future with the World Federation, we want to work on a global basis, because economy went global. Quote, if it's good or not, doesn't matter. If we don't follow this global movement, then we are lost. So we have to be engaged on a global scale, but also to look at the local conditions. So we have to improve on a local condition, and we have to influence and lobbying for better conditions for the animals also in the laws. That's clear. And it's not only to write them down, it's also to execute them. And that's what we want to support. And what is
this is something I've asked former guests also, but which I always wonder. Like when you started, there was very little footage of farmed animals, of the fur industry. And now in 2021, almost everybody in the world has seen on social media, somewhere has seen how animals are being treated. Why do you think people, even with seeing what's happening, still have such a hard time giving up meat or giving up animal products or giving up fur? What do you think that's in the psychic of people that they don't?
I think people don't want to see that. They are aware of it, but they don't want to see it. They believe in quality in quality standards. They believe in hallmarks. It's a very reduced number produced under these special conditions. I think we are not able to show the real cruel pictures. If we could have the chance to show the real pictures, a lot more people would deny to eat meat again, and would change their diet. I'm sure about that. Yeah. But media are not able to show it because it's too cruel. And people believe just in the promotion of the producers and the retailers, and that's here we have to step in to show the truth and to make these corrections on this way.
Do you see animal suffering ending in your lifetime? Do you see there an end point that there will come a point that humans and animals, we both don't kill each other, something like that? But do you see a world where animals don't suffer anymore?
A world where animals don't suffer, I fear I can't see it in my lifetime, or maybe I can extend my lifetime when I'm 200, maybe we can look back. But I think we did a lot of good things. All the animal welfare organizations did a lot of good things. We ended a lot of suffering for animals. For example, we ended the suffering for 7 million geese in the dawn production. So it's small steps. Sometimes it seems like small steps. For sure, if we are talking about farmed animals, it's around 80 billion animals being slaughtered every year for our consumption. So that's an enormous number. And we are dealing with 7 million. It seems to be very small, but it's one step ahead. And we are working in different areas. And if you think about 35,000 animal welfare organizations, if everyone takes its part, then I think we can succeed on a wider scale than we are doing it right now. And that's what gives me power. And I'm convinced that not only Four PAWS can do good, all the others can find their niche and can work on that. And if it's big topics like farmed animals, for example, then we have to go into alliances to target the right authorities and the right institutions, like the UN, for example, with the sustainable goals and so on. Because animals are not part of the 17 sustainable goals with the UN, so we have to work on that.
Yeah, I think you're really right. I think of course, Four PAWS does amazing work, and One Voice and PETA, and they all accomplish so much, and the smaller organization also. But at the big topics, you have to unite. You have to put pressure on governments all over the world to make a change there. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for the interview, and thank you for you and everybody who works at your organization for everything you do. And like you said, Four PAWS makes the news a lot. So like Kaavan, I think that was an amazing story. The animals you've rescued in war areas, something I didn't even know happened, but people go there from your organization. You rescue tigers. You do very specific things, but it's you save like all those personal stories of those animals. You made their life. You made such a big change in their lives.
I hope so.
Yeah,
we will follow up.
Yeah.
Thank you for the invitation, Priya.
Thank you so much, and thank you everybody for watching. You can follow You can follow us on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook. Would be nice if you give us a like, and we'll see you again next time.